Ambassador Sarah Chen walked into the massive Galactic Council chamber for what she hoped would be the last time. The room was huge, with seats arranged in circles that went up to the ceiling. Each seat was made for a different alien species. Some had water tanks for the fish-like Aquarians. Others had heated rocks for the cold-blooded reptilians. The air smelled of different gases that each species needed to breathe. Sarah took her place at the human section. It was small compared to the others. The humans had only been part of the Galactic Council for 5 years, but they had already become very important to the galaxy. Still, the other species treated them like children who did not understand how things worked. The Zephyrian delegate floated above his seat. His body looked like a jellyfish, with tentacles that glowed blue. He spoke in a voice that sounded like singing, but Sarah could hear the meanness in it. "The humans ask for too much again," he said. "They want 12 more star systems. They want better trade deals. They even want to change our old laws." The Corvin representative made clicking sounds with his mouth parts. He looked like a giant ant with 4 arms and black eyes that never blinked. "Humans think they can change everything in just a few years," he clicked. "We have been doing things the same way for thousands of years. Why should we change now?" Sarah felt her anger growing, but she kept her face calm. She had learned to hide her feelings after 3 years of these meetings. The humans had tried to be polite. They had tried to follow the rules. They had asked nicely for fair treatment. But every time, the answer was the same. No. The ethereals were the worst. They were the oldest species in the galaxy and thought they were the wisest. They looked like ghosts made of light, floating in special containers. They never spoke directly. Instead, they put thoughts into other people's minds. Sarah felt their cold touch in her brain now. Young species must learn patience. The thought came into her head. Humans grow too fast. They need to slow down and accept their place. Sarah wanted to scream. The humans had brought so many good things to the galaxy. They had new medicines that could cure diseases that had killed aliens for centuries. They had better ways to grow food that could feed billions. They had machines that could clean polluted planets. They had ideas that solved problems the other species had given up on. But did the Council care? No. They only cared about keeping things the same. The meeting dragged on for hours. Each species got up to speak about why the humans should not get what they asked for. The bird-like avians said humans were too violent. The crystal-based silicates said humans changed things too quickly. The energy beings called sparks said humans did not understand the old ways. Finally, it was time for the vote. Sarah already knew how it would go, but she still felt hope in her chest. Maybe this time would be different. Maybe this time they would see that the humans just wanted to be treated fairly. The Zephyrian called for the vote. "All in favor of giving humans the new territories they asked for?" 3 hands went up out of 47 species. Sarah felt her heart sink. "All in favor of the new trade deals?" 2 hands this time. "All in favor of giving humans more seats on the council?" 1 hand. Just 1. But the final vote was the worst. "All in favor of limiting human expansion to only 12 star systems total?" 42 hands went up. The humans currently controlled 28 systems. This vote would force them to give up more than half of everything they had built. Sarah stood up slowly. The chamber got quiet as all eyes turned to her. She was not very tall compared to most of the aliens, but her voice carried clearly through the huge room. "For 3 years," she said, "we have tried to work with you. We have been patient. We have been polite. We have followed your rules. We have brought you gifts of knowledge and technology. We have helped solve your problems. We have fed your hungry and healed your sick." The aliens began to whisper among themselves, but Sarah kept talking. "And what have you given us in return? You have treated us like children. You have ignored our needs. You have taken our help and given us nothing back. You have voted to take away what we have built with our own hands." The Zephyrian waved his tentacles. "Human, you speak out of turn. Sit down and accept the will of the council." Sarah looked around the room at all the alien faces. Some looked angry, some looked bored. None looked like they cared about what happened to humanity. "No," Sarah said simply. "The Terran Federation withdraws from all negotiations. We are done." The chamber exploded with noise. Aliens started shouting in dozens of different languages. The Corvins clicked their mandibles loudly. The avians screeched. The ethereals sent angry thoughts that felt like ice picks in everyone's minds. But Sarah was already walking toward the exit. Behind her, the other human diplomats stood up and followed. There were only 12 of them, but they moved like they were an army. "You cannot just leave," the Zephyrian called after them. There are procedures. There are forms to fill out. Sarah stopped at the door and turned around one last time. We tried your procedures for 3 years, she said. They do not work. From now on, humanity will handle its own affairs. The humans walked out of the chamber and down the long hallway. Their footsteps echoed off the walls. Behind them, the arguing got louder and louder. As they reached their ship, Sarah's assistant asked, "Ambassador, what do we do now?" Sarah looked back at the massive council building one last time. It was shaped like a spiral shell and covered with lights that represented each member species. Soon, the human lights would go dark. "We go home," she said. "We tell Earth and all the colonies what happened here, and then we show the galaxy what humans can do when we stop asking for permission." The human ship lifted off from the council station. As it flew away, Sarah sent a message to every human world in the galaxy. It was short and simple. "Negotiations have failed. We stand alone now. Prepare for independence." Within hours, every human diplomat in the galaxy received the same order. Pack up. Leave. Say nothing more to the aliens. Just go home. The galaxy was about to learn that humans were much more important than anyone had realized, and they were about to learn it the hard way. As Sarah's ship jumped to faster-than-light speed, she felt something she had not felt in 3 years. Relief. The humans were finally free to be themselves. No more begging, no more asking politely, no more being treated like children. The council had made their choice. Now they would live with it. The age of human diplomacy was over. What came next would be entirely up to humanity. The first thing that happened was silence. 3 days after the humans walked out of the Galactic Council, all human communication networks went dark to alien users. The vast information highways that connected thousands of worlds suddenly had locked doors that only humans could open. Messages that had flowed freely between species for years now bounced back with a simple reply. Access denied. Commander Zeltar of the Corvin Hive tried to contact the Human Agricultural Station on Kepler 442b. His people needed the protein shipments from that world to feed their warrior class. The communication channel connected, but instead of a human voice, he heard only a recorded message. "This is an automated response from Kepler Agricultural Station. All contracts with non-human entities have been terminated. No further communication will be accepted. Thank you for your past business." Zeltar clicked his mandibles in confusion. Terminated? The contract was supposed to last for 10 more years. His hive had counted on those shipments. Without them, the warriors would start fighting among themselves within weeks. He tried to call back, but the line was dead. Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out on thousands of worlds. Human merchant ships that had been reliable traders for years suddenly refused to accept alien customers. Cargo vessels changed course mid-flight, returning goods that had already been paid for. Space stations run by humans politely, but firmly told alien visitors that they were no longer welcome. On the Zephyrian research colony of Neb 9, Dr. Wishal floated nervously in his laboratory. The fusion reactors that powered his station were human-built. So were the atmospheric processors that made the air breathable, and the water purifiers, and the artificial gravity generators. All of them were starting to flash warning lights. "Computer," he sang in his musical voice. "What is the status of station systems?" "All human manufactured equipment is operating in limited mode," the computer replied. "Full technical support has been discontinued. Estimated time until critical system failure, 72 hours. Wishal's tentacles turned pale blue with fear. "Can we repair the systems ourselves?" "Negative. Human technology requires human authorization codes for major repairs. These codes are no longer available." The same problem was happening everywhere. The humans had not just stopped talking to the aliens, they had somehow made their own technology stop working properly for anyone else. Machines that had run perfectly for years suddenly needed constant human attention that was no longer available. In the council chambers, emergency meetings happened every day. The representatives who had been so confident just a week ago now looked worried and confused. "This is impossible," declared the avian delegate, her feathers ruffled with stress. "How can they just cut us off completely? We have laws. We have agreements." The ethereal council sent cold thoughts through the room. "Young species often throw tantrums when they do not get their way. The humans will return when they realize they need us more than we need them." But privately, even the ethereals were worried. Their meditation crystals, which helped them focus their mental powers, came from human mining operations. The last shipment had been due yesterday. It never came. The Corvin delegate was even more direct. "My hive worlds are reporting food shortages," he clicked angrily. "The humans provided 60% of our protein supplements. Without them, we will have riots within a month. Then find other suppliers, suggested the Zephyrian delegate, though his own glowing patterns had dimmed noticeably. His people's technology was failing too, and they had no idea how to fix it. We tried, the Corvan replied. No other species can produce food as efficiently as humans. It would take us years to build new facilities, and even then, we could not match their output. The truth was starting to sink in, though nobody wanted to admit it yet. Somewhere along the way, without anyone really noticing, the humans had become essential. They grew the food. They built the machines. They ran the communication networks. They solved the problems that other species could not solve. For thousands of years, the galaxy had worked in a certain way. Each species had their strengths and weaknesses. They traded with each other to get what they needed. It was slow but stable. Then the humans had arrived. At first, they seemed like just another young species trying to find their place. But humans were different. They did not just do one thing well. They learned everything. They improved everything. They made everything work better. The aliens had been happy to let humans take care of the difficult jobs. Why not? It made life easier for everyone. The humans seemed pleased to help, and they did not ask for much in return. Just fair treatment and a chance to grow. Now that the humans were gone, the aliens were discovering how much they had come to depend on them. And it was more than anyone had imagined. Captain Torres of the human cargo ship New Horizon received dozens of desperate calls from alien ports. The Silicate Collective offered to triple their usual payment for a shipment of rare metals. The Aquarian Federation promised to give humans exclusive fishing rights in their oceans. Even the proud Ethereals sent messages offering ancient knowledge in exchange for just one delivery of meditation crystals. Torres deleted all the messages without reading them completely. She had new orders now. All human ships were to return to human space immediately. No exceptions, no delays, no explanations. As her ship jumped toward home, Torres thought about the alien crews she had worked with over the years. Some of them had been friends. She felt a little sad about leaving them behind. But the humans had tried to be good neighbors for 3 years. They had been polite and helpful and patient. And what had it gotten them? Disrespect, insults, votes to take away their homes. Well, now the aliens would find out what the galaxy was like without humans to help them. Torres hoped they would learn from the experience, but she was not holding her breath. Some species were too proud to admit when they were wrong. In the weeks that followed, the effects spread like ripples in a pond. Trade routes that had depended on human navigation expertise became dangerous again. Colonies that relied on human-designed life support systems started having accidents. Research projects that needed human innovation ground to a halt. The humans, meanwhile, simply disappeared behind their borders. Their space became a black hole on the galactic map. Ships that tried to enter never came back. Messages sent toward human worlds received no replies. For the first time in 5 years, the galaxy was running without human help. And slowly but surely, it was starting to break down. The Council kept insisting that this was temporary. The humans would come back when they realized they needed galactic civilization. But as days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months, some delegates began to wonder if they had made a terrible mistake. The humans were not coming back, and the galaxy was beginning to fall apart without them. 3 months after the humans stopped talking to the galaxy, the first government fell. The Corvan secondary hive had always been the smallest of the 7 great hives, but they had been proud and strong. Their warriors were feared across 3 star systems. Their ships had helped keep peace in the Outer Rim for centuries. But all of that depended on one thing: protein. Corvan warriors needed massive amounts of protein to maintain their strength and speed. Their own worlds could only produce about 30% of what they needed. The rest had come from human. Agricultural stations that could grow more food on one world than most species could produce in entire star systems. Now those shipments had stopped. Queen Zelvash felt the hunger riots starting in her lowest tunnels first. The worker class always suffered before the warriors, but this time was different. This time the workers had weapons. They had learned to fight from 3 years of human training programs that had been designed to help all Corvans defend themselves. Better. "My queen," clicked Commander Kelnav as he rushed into the royal chamber. "The workers in Tunnel Section 7 have broken into the warrior food stores. They are eating the emergency rations." Queen Zelvash's 4 eyes glowed red with anger. "Send the guards to stop them!" "The guards are hungry too, my queen. Some of them have joined the workers." Within days, the secondary hive was at war with itself. Workers fought warriors in the deep tunnels. Younger queens challenged the old queen for control of the remaining food. Ships that should have been defending the borders turned their weapons on each other instead. News of the Corvan Civil War spread quickly through the galaxy. In the council chambers, delegates tried to pretend it was not their fault. "The Corvans have always been violent," said the avian representative, though her own voice shook slightly. "This has nothing to do with the human situation." But everyone knew better. The humans had not just provided food to the Corvans, they had provided stability. Without that stability, old rivalries and new hungers had torn the hive apart. The Zephyrian Republic was having different problems, but they were just as serious. For 50 years, Zephyrian technology had been the most advanced in the galaxy after they learned to copy and improve human designs. Their cities floated in the clouds of gas giant worlds. Their ships could travel faster than most other species. Their medical equipment could heal injuries that would kill anyone else. All of it was based on human science that the Zephyrians had reverse-engineered and adapted for their own use. Now that technology was failing. Engineer Hal Fem floated desperately around the main power core of Cloud City Alpha. The massive city housed 12 million Zephyrians in the atmosphere of a gas giant. It needed constant power to maintain altitude and life support. But the fusion reactors were designed using human principles that the Zephyrians did not fully understand. "The containment field is becoming unstable," he sang nervously to his team. "We need to adjust the magnetic resonance frequency, but I do not know how." His assistant, Mil Gorth, checked the technical manuals they had stolen from human databases years ago. "The instructions say to use a quantum harmonizer to stabilize the field, but we never learned how to build one of those. Can we contact the humans for help?" "You know we cannot." They refused to answer any messages. Around them, the great city shuddered slightly as the power core struggled to maintain stable fusion. If it failed completely, 12 million Zephyrians would fall into the crushing depths of the gas giant below. Similar disasters were happening all across Zephyrian space. Medical equipment stopped working when its self-repair systems failed. Faster-than-light engines shut down when their navigation computers encountered problems the Zephyrians could not fix. Even their advanced communications networks began to break down as human-designed components failed one by one. The proud Zephyrians, who had thought themselves the most advanced species in the galaxy, were discovering that their advancement had been borrowed. Without human innovation to copy, they were sliding backward toward their pre-contact technology level. On the ancient ethereal homeworld, something even more disturbing was happening. The ethereals had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years through mental power and ancient wisdom. They floated in their crystal towers, meditating on cosmic truths, and sending their thoughts across vast distances to guide lesser species. But their meditation required perfect crystals that could focus psychic energy. For centuries, these crystals had been mined from asteroids by robotic systems that worked slowly but surely. Then the humans had arrived with better mining technology. They could extract more crystals in a month than the old systems produced in a year. The quality was better, too. The ethereals had gladly accepted this improvement. More crystals meant deeper meditation. Deeper meditation meant greater wisdom. It was a perfect arrangement. Now Elder Zeph Thor found himself staring at an empty crystal storage chamber. The last meditation crystal had been used yesterday. Without them, the ethereals could not focus their mental powers. They were still ancient and wise, but they could no longer project their thoughts across the galaxy or read the minds of other species. For the first time in millennia, the ethereals were truly alone with their own thoughts. "This is unacceptable." Zeph Thor communicated to the other elders through the few remaining crystals. "We must find a way to force the humans to resume crystal production." "How?" replied Elder Morgai. "Our ships cannot reach human space. Our messages are ignored. Even our mental powers cannot penetrate whatever barriers they have erected." The truth was bitter, but undeniable. The humans had somehow learned to block ethereal mental abilities. The species that the ethereals had dismissed as mentally primitive had found ways to shield their thoughts completely. All across the galaxy, the same pattern repeated itself. The Aquarian Federation's underwater cities started flooding when their human-designed pressure systems failed. The Silicate Collective's mining operations ground to a halt when their human-built excavators broke down. Even the energy beings called Sparks found their networks failing as human-maintained relay stations went offline. Each species had become dependent on human help in different ways, but they were all dependent. The humans had quietly made themselves indispensable while everyone else was looking down on them as newcomers who needed to learn their place. In the council chambers, emergency sessions happened every day now. Representatives demanded action, but nobody had any good ideas. "We could send a military force to human space," suggested the Corvan delegate. though he represented only the primary hive now that the others were busy fighting each other. "With what ships?" asked the Zephyrian representative bitterly. "Half our fleet is grounded for repairs we cannot make." "The humans must be suffering too," insisted the avian delegate. "They need our markets to sell their goods. They will come, back when their economy starts to fail." But deep down, everyone was starting to suspect that the humans did not need alien markets as much as the aliens needed human goods. The humans had built their economy to serve the galaxy, but they had also built it to survive without the galaxy if necessary. As the weeks passed and more governments started to shake, a terrible thought began to creep into the minds of council members. What if the humans really were done with them? What if this silence was not a negotiating tactic but a genuine goodbye? What if the galaxy needed humans more than humans needed the galaxy? It was a possibility too frightening for most delegates to consider directly. But as their worlds grew, darker and hungrier and more chaotic, it became harder and harder to ignore. The humans had tried to be partners. The council had insisted on treating them as junior members who should be grateful for any scraps thrown their way. Now the galaxy was learning what happened when you took the most capable species around and told them they were not welcome at the adult table. The children were discovering that they needed the adults much more than the adults needed them. 6 months after the humans went silent, the Galactic Council did something it had never done in its 10,000-year history. It begged. The emergency session was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Representatives from 47 different species crowded into the Great Chamber, but instead of the usual proud speeches and formal procedures, there was only desperation. The Corvan delegation was now just one representative from the primary hive. The other 6 hives had either destroyed each other in civil wars or collapsed completely when their food supplies ran out. Commander Kelvash clicked his mandibles nervously as he spoke. "Honored colleagues," he said, "the Corvan people offer the humans exclusive mining rights to all asteroid belts in our territory. We also offer them 3 of our best worlds as permanent colonies. All we ask in return is that they resume food shipments to our remaining population." The Zephyrian representative floated lower than usual. His normal bright glow dimmed to almost nothing. "The Republic of Zephyr offers to share all of our scientific knowledge with humanity. Our complete databases, our research, everything. We will also grant them ownership of our fastest ships. Please, we just need technical support to keep our cities from falling into the gas giants." Even the ancient ethereals had abandoned their usual mysterious ways. Elder Morgai spoke directly instead of sending thoughts, and his voice shook with something that might have been fear. "The Ethereal Council offers humanity access to the sacred archives," he said. 10,000 years of collected wisdom, secrets, that we have never shared with any species. We will also grant them 5 seats on the High Council itself, with full voting rights. We only ask that they resume crystal mining operations. The offers kept coming. The Aquarians promised to give humans control of entire ocean worlds. The Silicates offered to work as unpaid laborers in human mines for a century. The Avians said they would serve as a human courier service for free. Each species was offering things they had never offered before. Treasures they had guarded for millennia, rights they had never granted to anyone. And through it all, the humans said nothing. The Council had been broadcasting these offers toward human space for weeks. They had sent them on every frequency, in every language, through every communication method they could think of. The messages reached human territory and simply disappeared, as if they had been dropped into a black hole. "Perhaps," suggested the Aquarian delegate hopefully, "the humans have not received our messages. Their communication systems might be damaged." But everyone knew that was not true. Human communication technology was the most advanced in the galaxy. If the humans were not responding, it was because they chose not to respond. Some species had tried more direct approaches. Admiral Kethmar of the primary Corvan hive had assembled the largest military force he could manage. 12 heavy cruisers and 30 smaller ships. It was not much compared to the fleets the Corvans used to command, but it was all they had left after the civil wars. His mission was simple: reach human space and demand negotiations at gunpoint if necessary. The Corvan people were starving. Pride was a luxury they could no longer afford. The fleet reached the border of human territory without any problems. Human space was clearly marked with warning beacons that broadcast the same message in all known languages. "This is human territory. Unauthorized vessels will be turned away. Do not approach." Admiral Kethmar ignored the warnings and ordered his ships forward. The first cruiser, the Warrior's Honor, crossed the border and immediately vanished. Not destroyed, vanished. One moment it was there on the sensors, the next moment it was gone completely. No wreckage, no distress signal, no trace at all. "What happened?" Cathmar demanded of his sensor operator. "I do not know, sir. The ship just disappeared. It is as if it never existed." 3 more ships followed the first one into human space. All 3 vanished the same way. Cathmar ordered the rest of his fleet to retreat before he lost any more vessels. Later, he would learn that other species had tried similar approaches with the same results. A Zephyrian stealth ship equipped with their best cloaking technology had attempted to infiltrate human space to steal technical information. It vanished just like the Corvin cruisers. A group of ethereal mental projectionists had tried to force contact with human minds across the border. They had screamed in pain and collapsed, their consciousness somehow burned by contact with human mental defenses. The humans were not just ignoring the galaxy, they were actively keeping it out. The most disturbing reports came from the few aliens who had been working on human worlds when the withdrawal began. Most had been politely but firmly escorted to the nearest spaceport and sent home. But a few had been allowed to stay and send messages back to their families. Their reports painted a picture that terrified the Council. The humans were not suffering from isolation. If anything, they seemed to be thriving. Their technology was advancing faster than ever. Their colonies were expanding into regions of space that the Council had never explored. Their ships had become sleeker and more advanced, incorporating designs that no alien species could understand. Most frightening of all, the humans were not alone. Dr. Whis Howell, the Zephyrian scientist who had been working on a joint research project, when the withdrawal began, sent a message that changed everything. "The humans have made contact with new species," his transmission said. "Beings from beyond the rim of the galaxy. They call themselves the Builders and the Gardeners and the Teachers. I have seen their ships. Technology that makes our best efforts look like stone tools. The humans are learning from them, and in return, they are sharing human innovation and adaptability. The galaxy as we know it was never the whole universe. It was just a small pond, and the humans have found the ocean." The message cut off there. Dr. Wishal was never heard from again. In the council chambers, panic spread like a disease. If the humans had found new allies among species that were more advanced than anything the galaxy had ever seen, what did that mean for the old order? "This is impossible," declared the avian representative. "There are no advanced species beyond the rim. We have explored every sector for thousands of years." But the ethereal elder Zepthor spoke the truth that everyone feared to hear. "We have explored with our technology and our understanding. But the humans see things differently than we do. They make connections that we miss. If there were advanced civilizations hiding beyond our reach, the humans would be the ones to find them." Desperate. Times led to desperate measures. The Council voted to send the largest diplomatic mission in galactic history toward human space. Representatives from every species, carrying the most valuable gifts their civilizations could offer. The mission was led by Ambassador Velthar, a skilled Zephyrian diplomat who had worked with humans before the withdrawal. He had always been respectful to human representatives, and the Council hoped that might count for something. The diplomatic fleet reached the border of human space and stopped. They broadcast their message on all frequencies. "To our human friends, we come in peace-seeking dialogue. We acknowledge that mistakes were made in the past. We wish to make amends and find a path forward together." For 3 days, there was no response. Then, finally, a reply came. It was audio only, a simple human voice speaking in clear galactic standard. "Thank you for your message. The Terran Federation appreciates your interest in renewed contact. However, we are currently not accepting diplomatic communications from Council species. Please direct all future inquiries to our automated systems." And that was all. No negotiation, no discussion, no hope. The diplomatic fleet waited for 2 more weeks, sending increasingly desperate messages. But the only response was the same automated reply, over and over again. Finally, Ambassador Velthar ordered the fleet to return home. As they turned away from human space, he sent one last personal message. "Sarah, if you are listening, this is Velthar. We worked together for 2 years. I thought we were friends. Please, the galaxy is falling apart. People are dying. Whatever we did wrong, surely it can be forgiven. Please talk to us." The response came back quickly, but it was not from Sarah Chen. It was the same automated voice as before. "The Terran Federation is not currently accepting diplomatic communications from Council species. As the diplomatic fleet limped home with nothing to show for their efforts, the galaxy faced a terrible new reality. The humans were not coming back. They had found something better than the Galactic Council, and they had no interest in returning to the species that had treated them so poorly. For 10,000 years, the Council had been the center of galactic civilization. Now it was becoming irrelevant, and there was nothing they could do to stop it. The age of human patience was over. The age of human independence had begun. And the galaxy was learning that being left behind was much worse than being ignored. 1 year after the humans walked out of the Galactic Council, Ambassador Sarah Chen sat in her office on New Geneva, the capital world of the Terran Federation. Through her window, she could see the bustling spaceport where ships from dozens of species came and went. But none of them belonged to the old council races. The galaxy had changed in ways that no one could have imagined. Sarah's desk was covered with reports from across human space. The news was better than anyone had dared to hope. Without the constant drain of supporting ungrateful council species, human civilization had exploded into a golden age of growth and discovery. The population of human worlds had doubled as people returned from alien territories. New colonies were being established at a rate of 3 per month. Most exciting of all, human ships had made contact with 17 new species beyond the galactic rim, species that the Council had never found because they had never bothered to look past their own comfortable borders. Dr. Martinez, Sarah's science advisor, knocked on her door and entered with the latest reports. "The builders have agreed to share their construction technology," he said excitedly. "With their help, we can build space habitats that house 1 billion people each. The gardeners want to teach us how to terraform dead worlds in just 50 years instead of 500. And the teachers." He paused, shaking his head in wonder. "The teachers have knowledge that goes back millions of years. They say humanity reminds them of themselves when they were young." Sarah smiled as she read through the reports. It seemed that humans had a gift for making friends with species that actually appreciated them. The new allies were not just more advanced than the council races. They were wiser, kinder, and more willing to share knowledge freely. "What about the council?" Sarah asked. "Any new messages?" Dr. Martinez pulled up another report on his tablet. 43 desperate pleas this week. The Corvin primary hive is down to their last food reserves. The Zephyrian Republic has lost 6 more floating cities. The Aquarian Federation is reporting widespread system failures in their underwater colonies. And the Ethereals? Their meditation? Crystal supplies ran out last month. Without them, they cannot use their mental powers effectively. For the first time in 10,000 years, they are just ordinary beings with long lifespans. Sarah felt a small pang of sympathy, but it passed quickly. The humans had tried for 3 years to be good partners. They had been patient, helpful, and generous. In return, they had been treated like children who should be grateful for scraps. "Any change in their attitude?" she asked. "They are still offering us everything they can think of. Territory, technology, positions of power. But they still seem to think this is a negotiation. They do not understand that we have simply moved on." And that was the truth that the Council could not accept. This was not about revenge or punishment. The humans had not withdrawn from galactic civilization to hurt the other species. They had withdrawn because they had found something better. Captain Rodriguez of the exploration vessel New Horizons had summed it up perfectly in his latest report. "Why should we go back to being junior partners with people who do not respect us when we can be equal partners with people who value what we bring to the relationship?" The new alliances were everything the Council relationship had not been. The builders shared their construction secrets freely in exchange for human innovation in materials science. The gardeners taught terraforming techniques in return for human advances in genetic engineering. The teachers offered ancient wisdom, while learning from human adaptability and problem-solving skills. It was a partnership of equals, built on mutual respect and genuine friendship. Sarah's communications officer buzzed in with an urgent message. "Ambassador, we have received another diplomatic mission from the Council. This one is led by the ethereal Elder Morgai himself. He is requesting permission to enter human space for direct negotiations." Sarah considered this for a moment. The fact that the Ethereals were sending their highest-ranking leader showed how desperate they had become. A year ago, an ethereal elder would never have lowered himself to directly negotiate with humans. "Standard response," she said finally. "We are not currently accepting diplomatic communications from Council species." "Yes, ma'am. Should I add anything else?" Sarah thought about all the times she had sat in the Council chambers, listening to aliens dismiss human concerns without even pretending to care. She thought about the final vote that had tried to take away human colonies, human achievements, human dignity. "No," she said, "that is sufficient." The communication was sent, and Sarah returned to her work. There were plans to review for the new joint research facility with the teachers. The builders wanted to discuss a project to construct a ring habitat around a star. The gardeners had proposed creating a garden world that would serve as a meeting place for all the rim species. The future was bright and full of possibilities. Across the galaxy, the old order continued to crumble. The Corvan collective had fractured into dozens of tiny hive states that spent more time fighting each other than trying to rebuild. The Zephyrian Republic had become an isolated oligarchy, hoarding their failing technology and refusing to admit that they needed help they could no longer afford. The Aquarian Federation had retreated to their deep ocean worlds, cutting off contact with the surface entirely. The Silicate Collective had stopped mining operations and entered a kind of hibernation state. Even the proud avians had grounded most of their fleets and pulled back to their home world. The great Galactic Council chambers stood nearly empty now. Where once 47 species had gathered to debate the future of galactic civilization, now only a handful of representatives met to discuss how to manage their slow collapse. The ethereal elder Zepthor floated alone in his crystal tower, meditating without focus crystals for the first time in his 1,000-year life. His thoughts, no longer amplified by psychic technology, felt small and weak. He tried to understand where everything had gone wrong. The Council had ruled the galaxy successfully for 10 millennia. They had brought peace to warring species, established trade routes, shared knowledge and resources. How had it all fallen apart so quickly? The answer, when it came to him, was simple and bitter. The Council had ruled successfully because they had never encountered a species like humanity before. The humans did not fit into the old patterns. They did not accept their assigned role as junior members. They did not need the Council as much as the Council needed them. For 10,000 years, the Council had been the galaxy's adults, guiding younger species and keeping order. But the humans had never really been children. They had been partners pretending to be students, and when the pretense became too painful, they had simply left to find other partners who appreciated them. The galaxy had lost its most valuable members because it could not recognize their value in time. In her office on New Geneva, Sarah received one final message from the Galactic Council. It was not an offer or a plea. It was a simple statement from Elder Morgai. We understand now that we failed you. We treated you as subjects when you were equals. We dismissed your contributions when we should have celebrated them. We realize that apologies cannot undo the damage that has been done. We only ask that you remember us kindly, as we will remember the brief time when humans made our galaxy a better place. Sarah read the message twice, then carefully filed it away. It was the first communication from the Council that showed genuine understanding of what had happened. But understanding that came too late was just another form of ignorance. She turned back to her work on the new alliance treaties. Tomorrow, she would be meeting with representatives from the Builder Collective to discuss the construction of humanity's first Dyson sphere. Next week, the Gardener Council wanted to begin work on transforming dead worlds into new Edens. The old galaxy, with its rigid hierarchies and ancient prejudices, was behind them now. Ahead lay the vast universe, full of species who had been waiting eons for partners worthy of their friendship. Humanity had tried to earn a place at the Council's table. When that failed, they had built their own table. A bigger, better table where everyone was welcome as long as they came in friendship and respect. The age of human diplomacy was over. The age of human leadership had begun. And somewhere in the deep space between galaxies, human ships continued their journey toward new worlds and new friends, carrying with them the hard-won knowledge that true partnership could only exist between equals. The Council had taught humanity an important lesson. Never waste time trying to convince people to value you. Instead, find people who already do. It was a lesson that would serve humanity well as they built their new civilization among the stars.